22 now. Welcome back to CBS LA Mornings. Well, Mark Walter's insurance companies are shuffling billions of dollars of investments as he faces an intense federal investigation into allegations of multi-billion-dollar loan fraud. The Department of Justice and the SEC are investigating whether Walter illegally used money from insurance companies he controls to fund his massive sports investments without proper disclosure. To handle a massive cash crisis and appease regulators, Walter is selling off assets. That included his controlling stake in the Lakers. So what does this mean for his other high-profile assets like the Dodgers?
Joining us to break down the investigation and what it means for LA sports teams is senior writer for The Athletic, Melody Gutierrez. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. We're so happy to have you here because this is so convoluted, so complicated. You're talking billions of dollars, hard for so many people to wrap their mind around. So can you talk a little bit about the players and companies involved in this, which has made it difficult for some to understand, and also give us a simple breakdown of what exactly Walter's companies are being investigated for?
Yeah, you're right. This is a very complex story, and there really isn't a lot of visibility quite yet on motivations. But what we do know is in the insurance filings for Mark Walter is that, you know, he's moving a lot of money around. The at issue here is whether or not the loans he was giving and from his companies, including two insurance companies, Delaware Life and Clear Spring Life, whether or not he was on the other side of those loans, or affiliated companies with relationships to him are also on the other side. And really what this comes down to is, you know, if the person giving the loan and accepting the loan are you know, what are they doing with these loans, and what is the terms of these loans? Because the people who are behind it, the money behind it, are policyholders of these insurance companies.
Yeah, it is all very interesting. So, of course, this made news because Walter sold his share in the Lakers. You do a great job in your article of spelling out how his net worth is about $18 billion. He actually has a lot of investments in sports franchises, including in the Premier League. And then he also has a portion of the Dodgers. So talk about his involvement with all those, and could he potentially liquidate all of that?
Yes, he's really a sports mogul when it comes down to it. He kind of owns a little bit of everything, Los Angeles Sparks included. You know, there's F1 holdings. There are, you know, Women's Hockey League. He owns the entire league. So there really are a lot of sports franchises at play here. You know, it's unclear what he's going to liquidate because it's unclear how much, you know, money that would produce and where he needs it and by what timelines. You know, I think the Dodgers are something that everyone is looking at right now because that's the marquee franchise. That's the one that, you know, has the most money tied up in it. Obviously a perennial powerhouse. So I think that that's where people are looking. And right now the Dodgers are saying that the Lakers sale has nothing to do with them. But, you know, this investigation is continuing. And I think everyone's looking at, you know, what will be next.
Take the Dodgers, you know, being sold off the table. They also, the way they financially operate is deferring, you know, these billion-dollar contracts. So it's not just necessarily the sale and shifting money there, but it's also how the team itself could operate, right?
Yes, I mean, with some of those deferred contracts, you know, the players' union does require that money to be held in trust. So, you know, there are many people who are confident that that money is safe. But it does, you know, raise questions about the way that this franchise is set up. And, you know, there has been a long standing, you know, luxury of being able to be a team with an owner that has deep pockets.
Absolutely.
Yes, we have benefited from that.
We think Dodgers, of course, and we have to talk about Shohei Ohtani. People may not know he has a unique clause in his contract that allows him to opt out if Mark Walter loses control of the franchise. So this, I'm sure, is concerning to Dodgers fans to hear. Is this something people should actually be worried about?
Yes, this is the key man clause. This is not a typical thing you find in a contract, but, you know, Ohtani is saying that this is not something he plans to exercise if Mark Walter were to leave. So I think that that's one of the things that maybe fans should feel the most safe about.
Is that he's actually saying he wouldn't execute it. But why did he put it in the first place?
Right.
You know, that is unclear. I think a lot of people are, you know, asking, you know, the relationship. I mean, obviously, Ohtani came in. You can see it in the pictures when he signed that Mark Walter's right there. And that's the person who, you know, was the key of the franchise. So Mark Walter and Ohtani kind of came hand in hand. But, you know, the real details of why and the motivations are still unclear.
Okay.
Well, Melody, this is all really wonderful. I mean, you wrote this article breaking it all down. What do you want people to understand that you have not seen in the headlines yet as far as the Walter investigation?
You know, I think there's still a lot of fine lines in these insurance filings that are worth digging into. The names of what company gave a loan to what company within the business empire of Mark Walter. You know, those names aren't clear of who's getting the money and who's lending the money. So I think there's a lot of digging in to do on, what those companies are.
Well, we know you'll be on it. So, Melody, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, great work. Thank you.